Aisha Coleman was 38 years old, a pediatric surgeon whose hands had saved countless lives in operating rooms across the country. Born in a working-class neighborhood in Birmingham, Alabama, she climbed a steep path to success, valedictorian in high school, a full ride to Stanford, and a residency at Johns Hopkins. Now based in Atlanta, she was a sought-after specialist, a guest lecturer at medical conferences, and a mentor to young Black women in STEM. She was used to navigating spaces where she was underestimated, but she never let it define her. Aisha carried herself with a quiet confidence, her sharp mind matched by a warmth that put people at ease. The flight to New York was a quick one, just over 2 hours, for a conference where Aisha was presenting on advancements in pediatric heart surgery. She'd booked a first-class ticket, a rare treat she justified because of her grueling schedule. Traveling with her were her 2 children, Elijah, 10, and Maya, 8, whom she'd promised a weekend in New York after her presentation. They were bright, well-mannered kids, excited about the trip but tired from an early morning at the airport. Aisha had her laptop open, reviewing her slides, while Elijah played a game on his tablet and Maya read a book. First class on the Delta flight was half full, with business travelers tapping away on laptops and a few families scattered among the wide leather seats. Aisha had settled into 2A, a window seat, with Elijah in 2B and Maya in 2C. She was sipping coffee, her kids quietly occupied, when a woman approached their row. Diane Reynolds, a 50-something white woman in a tailored blazer, stood in the aisle, clutching her boarding pass and looking confused. "Excuse me," Diane said, her tone clipped but polite. "I think there's been a mistake. You're in my seat." Aisha looked up, her expression calm. "This is 2A, she said, pulling out her boarding pass. "My kids are in 2B and 2C. Can I see your pass?" Diane hesitated, glancing at her boarding pass, then back at Aisha. "No, I'm in first class. I didn't expect," she trailed off, her eyes flicking to Elijah and Maya, who were now looking up from their activities. Aisha raised an eyebrow, picking up on the implication. "Didn't expect what?" she asked, her voice steady but pointed. Diane's face flushed slightly, but she pressed on. "I just thought you might be, traveling with someone else's kids. Like a nanny or something. This is first class." The words hung in the air. A few passengers nearby turned, their attention caught. Elijah, sensing the tension, put down his tablet, while Maya looked at her mom, confused. Aisha took a slow breath, her years of dealing with microaggressions kicking in. She wasn't angry. Not yet, but she wasn't about to let the assumption slide. "I'm Dr. Aisha Coleman," she said, her tone professional but firm. "These are my children, Elijah and Maya. We're all in our assigned seats, which I paid for. If you're having trouble finding your seat, I'm sure the flight attendant can help." Diane's mouth opened, then closed. She fumbled with her boarding pass, clearly rattled. "I didn't mean it like that," she said quickly. It's unusual." "Unusual?" Aisha repeated, her voice still calm, but now carrying an edge. "What's unusual about a Black woman and her kids in first class?" The cabin was quieter now, more heads turning. A man in a suit across the aisle paused his typing, glancing over. A couple in the row behind leaned forward, listening. Diane's discomfort was palpable, but she doubled down. "I'm not racist," she said, her voice rising. "I just made a mistake. You don't have to make a big deal out of it." Aisha set her laptop aside, giving Diane her full attention. "You didn't make a mistake," she said. "You made an assumption based on what I look like. And now you're defensive, because I called it out. Let's be clear, I'm a pediatric surgeon. I've been flying first class for years. My kids belong here just as much as you do." Elijah, who'd been quiet, piped up. "Mom's a doctor," he said, his voice proud but matter-of-fact. "She saves kids' lives." Maya nodded. "She's speaking at a big conference tomorrow. That's why we're going to New York." The passengers nearby were openly listening now, some nodding in approval, others whispering to their seatmates. Diane's face was bright red, her hands clutching her bag. "I said I'm sorry," she muttered, though she hadn't actually apologized. Can we just drop it? A flight attendant, a middle-aged man named Michael, approached, sensing the escalating tension. Is everything okay here? He asked, looking between Aisha and Diane. Aisha spoke first, her voice clear and composed. This passenger assumed I was a nanny because I'm black and traveling with my children in first class. She asked me to move from my assigned seat. I'd like to stay where I am, but I think she needs help finding her seat. Michael checked Diane's boarding pass. Ma'am, you're in 3C right behind, he said, pointing to the next row. These passengers are in their correct seats. Please take yours so we can prepare for takeoff. Diane hesitated, then moved to her seat, mumbling under her breath. Michael turned to Aisha. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, he said. Can I get you anything? We're fine, Aisha said, offering a small smile. Thank you. As Michael walked away, the man in the suit across the aisle leaned over. That was handled beautifully, he said quietly. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Aisha nodded. It's not the first time, she said. Probably won't be the last. The flight continued, but the incident wasn't over. Words spread through the cabin, whispered from seat to seat. A woman in 4A, a lawyer named Rachel, approached Aisha during a quiet moment. I heard what happened, she said. I'm a mom, too, and I can't imagine dealing with that. You are so poised. Aisha thanked her, then turned her attention back to her kids, helping Maya with a word in her book. But the conversation had shifted something in the cabin. Passengers started small acts of kindness, offering snacks to Elijah and Maya, sharing smiles with Aisha. When the plane landed in New York, several passengers waited to speak to her as they deboarded. You're an inspiration, a young woman said, shaking Aisha's hand. The way you stood up for yourself, it was amazing. A man in his 60s, a retired teacher, added, Your kids are lucky to have you as a role model. Aisha smiled, gracious but ready to move on. I just want to get to the hotel and order some pizza, she said, making Elijah and Maya laugh. The story didn't end at the gate. One passenger, a college student, posted a video of the exchange on social media, capturing Aisha's calm but firm response. The clip went viral, shared thousands of times with captions like, Black doctor shuts down stereotype and first class clapback. By the time Aisha reached her conference, colleagues were texting her about the video, praising her for her grace under pressure. Delta reached out a few days later, offering an apology and a voucher for future travel. Aisha accepted, but didn't dwell on it. She was focused on her presentation, which drew a standing ovation, and on her kids, who spent the weekend exploring New York. Diane's name never came up again, but Aisha's did. On social media, in conference hallways, and among the passengers who'd witnessed a masterclass in dignity. For Aisha, it was just another day of being herself, a black woman, a mother, a surgeon, and someone who knew her worth. For the plane, it was a moment they wouldn't forget, a reminder that assumptions have consequences, and grace can be a powerful response.